It feels equally appropriate at a fancy restaurant and at dinner with the family. Cauliflower gratin is a creamy, cheesy veggie dish that deserves a spot in your dinner side repertoire. Sally Humeniuk is with Cache Valley Creamery. I was practicing that name, if you can't tell.
Got it.
She joins me in the kitchen to share this recipe, and we were talking about just au gratin, gratin. Can you define what is a gratin? What defines a gratin
So a
dish?
gratin is usually baked in a shallow baking dish. There's a sauce over top, and then it's usually topped with either breadcrumbs, butter, or in this case, cheese.
Okay.
And then you
Comfort
bake it.
food.
Yes, exactly, right, all the good things. You bake it until the top is kind of golden.
Okay.
And that's what creates the gratin.
Okay, let's talk about what Cache Valley Creamery cheeses we're using in this one.
Okay, so I'm using their Cache Valley Creamery's Swiss cheese for kind of a sharp, nutty flavor. And then I also use some mozzarella to give it that stretch.
Okay, I like
Anytime
that.
you can do that, and you know, it's just gonna increase the fun factor and the flavor. And then some Parmesan cheese for a little saltiness.
Okay, and you're saying you could use those for different veggies. You make maybe broccoli.
You could do broccoli, or you could combine the broccoli and the cauliflower. What I did here when you were talking about the microwaved cauliflower, I prepped the cauliflower in the microwave to get it a little bit crisp tender, so that when you're baking it in the oven, you only need to bake it for 15 or 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And then that way the whole thing is
Speed it
done.
up.
Yeah. Plus, if you can put it in the microwave in the baking dish that you're using, then
Safe
these are the
dishes.
only pans that you're going
Love
to
it.
get
The fewer
dirty.
dishes, the better. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me how we're doing it.
Okay, so I started with a white sauce using butter, flour, and then milk. And once it starts to get thick, it's not quite thick enough, but we'll
pretend,
you know, we'll
TV
pretend,
pretend,
right?
yes.
Then you add some salt and pepper. You can also add ground nutmeg. That's really good with cauliflower, or ground mustard if you don't like that nutmeg. Or if you're doing adding the broccoli, I would do the mustard.
Okay.
And then I add half of the Swiss cheese. I mean, you know, Cache Valley, their cheese is so good, so wholesome. I really know that I'm going to get a good dish with Cache Valley Creamery cheese.
And that's just melting in.
Yeah, so half of the Swiss cheese, all of the mozzarella cheese, and we save the Parmesan for the top. And so this just goes in, and we want it to, I just turned it off.
Oh, what consistency are we looking for?
So we want it pretty creamy, pretty thick. And then once it's creamy enough, or thick enough, then you're going to, you know, you're going to make it nice and smooth. This is nowhere near
we don't have
ready.
time. But
No.
you did just a single layer of
Yes,
cauliflower.
you want
in
it.
here.
You want
Okay.
to kind of. That's exactly what you want, is a single layer, and then you pour this over the top, and then add the rest of the Swiss.
So you put the rest of the Swiss just on top, and you're saying you could substitute other Cache Valley cheeses too in here if you wanted.
So they have, Cache Valley Creamery has such a great variety of cheese that any home chef can feel empowered to experiment. And so you could switch out, you could use their Monterey Jack, you could use any of their cheddars. If you want a little heat, you could use the pepper jack. If you don't like sharp cheese, especially if it's for your kids, sometimes they don't like that bite, just put any of their cheddars in there.
I like that.
all
Now,
works.
how do you, because yours looks a little fancy over there, what kind of herbs, how do you like to dress this to serve?
Okay, so you can add some herbs at the end, or you can add some before it bakes, but you can either use sage, thyme, rosemary, you know, any herbs and cheese go so well together, you know, you can't go wrong. Anything that you like.
Okay, and then we're baking this and we're waiting just till it's bubbly and brown at the top.
Yep.
And do you cover it at all? Or?
No.
Okay.
You don't cover it. This was about 15 minutes is all. And then you kind of watch it and you get it just as brown as you like it. And then when you take it out, you can, you know, kind of add the herbs on top. I would wait until it's baked to add the herbs, you know, because you want them on there fresh.
And what herb is this?
This one's thyme.
Thyme
Yeah.
on the top. Look how pretty
Yep.
that is. I just
Yep.
think it's so pretty to serve. And have you found like gratin recipes to be something that younger kids will like because it's a little more, it's cheesy, it's
Exactly.
yummy.
Yes. And so, you're adding the cauliflower, you're subbing out potatoes in this instance, and the cauliflower can be something that they'll really like because of all the cheese that's on top.
It's a good way to get your veggies in your
Yes.
kids, right?
Right.
Okay, so you have more recipes and things like that, just different ways we can use Cache Valley
Correct.
Creamery cheese. Where do we go?
So CacheValleyCreamery.com, they have tons of recipes there. They're also on Facebook and social or media, all the social media
Web,
channels.
social, all the things.
And then you can find recipes on my website, gooddinnermom.com.
Well, that's so great because I have a lot of Cache Valley Creamery cheese in my fridge, and I maybe don't think to go to that website to
Right.
find recipes.
Yes,
But
they have a great variety there.
all right, thanks so much.
Great, thanks for having me.